With its short time on the market, the Jaguar didn't have that many numbered sequels until now. I am the Game Collector, and this is Second Opinion Games, and today I do the review of JagZombies 2 for the Atari Jaguar.
Second Opinion Games.
So here's JagZombies 2, the box and everything that we will be getting with this. And it feels like a very professional, well done up box, fully in color, and feels and looks exactly like a traditional Atari Jaguar box would look, except for not having all the languages that some of the Jaguar games had. You also have the cardboard insert and the instruction manual, which still looks great, fully in color, with lots of pictures and other stuff, and even the enemies in the game. It's better than most manuals for the system itself. You also have the cartridge, which looks pretty darn good, and yeah, that's it. The overlay, which has, everything on it. It didn't need to do this overlay. That's just going the extra mile. Now, the cartridge itself just feels super legit. Like, they almost would have, destroyed a real game to make it. But no, I'm pretty sure this is another cartridge that's legit, and it doesn't have the Atari on the back, and another good old cartridge. Also, sometimes the color differences on these cartridges are pretty profound. Sometimes they're darker, sometimes they're grayer, but this is everything. Okay, bye. So the first thing we see when we start playing this game is a storyline of everything that happened up to this point. After all, we know that this mysterious virus, which is turning people into zombies, is spread by bats. Now keep in mind, the first game came out in 2018, before this whole pandemic thing, and I gotta say, they really nailed this down. Talk about future telling. Also, I really like the graphics in this part, and eventually you could even see what the end boss of the game is gonna look like, the #1 Bat Lord. Imagine if viruses really work like this. As long as you take down whatever evil started the whole thing, the whole virus just goes away. So all we have to do is take down one of those countries, you guys know which one, and this whole virus will just dry up overnight. At the main screen, we have some options, and let's try out target practice, where it's just a bunch of bats just minding their own business, flying around, and you blow them apart with a shotgun. Now, when I was a kid growing up in Pennsylvania, there was a ton of bats, and people didn't care if you just walked outside and started picking them off left and right, especially in your barn where they would just poop all over your tractors and whatnot. So this was somewhat commonplace. Now it's very illegal because the Pennsylvania brown bat is nearly extinct because of some type of moss that grows on their wings, and it just killed out thousands of them and millions of them overnight. So this is almost sad to see and do, but it does give you a good feel of how the controller works and how you could take down the bats with relative ease. Also, the targeting here just feels really good, so it's just fun. Then let's go into the sound test here. Use the number pad to select the track you want, so even if you can't make it through all the levels of the game, you can still listen to all of the music. However, there isn't anything that stands out too much. Some of the quiet whispers are good for setting a theme in your home if you want to have a Halloween party and have a little bit of whispers in the background, and some of them have some epic bass going on, which is pretty darn cool. None of the music tracks really stand out too much, but just having it here is pretty darn awesome for all those video game music loving fans out there. You can even play the original JagZombies game, which, if you were one of the very first people to buy JagZombies for the Jaguar, you were pretty much a play tester for the game, because it had a ton of bugs. Now, this final product, everything was completely worked out, so you actually get something that is definitely worth having on your shelf. Now, this version of JagZombies is a bit harder than even the version that I got, and it tends to last a bit longer. Now, my old version, sometimes it would play for like 2 minutes before it just moved on to the next level, and here it seems to be about 3.5 to 4 minutes of shooting zombies. Also, the weird way in which they zoom into place means they all come from the exact same reference point. So if you want to get those headshots, all you just have to line it up just right, and then you could pop off headshots non-stop, as long as you move left and right and never move the cursor up and down. There are some bats, though, that tend to throw that off just a little bit, but overall, it's easy to pop off some zombie headshots. And when moving on to the second level of the game is still a big problem for me. See, there are these stagnant scenes, and in this level, there's a big pillar going through the middle of the scene, and watching the zombies just sort of walk through the giant pillar doesn't feel right at all. This was bad game design 101 for this scenery. You don't have your enemies walk through what should be a solid barrier. Let's see if they fix this, or at least didn't make any of the same mistakes for JagZombies 2. Okay, JagZombies 2. When we start off the game, we're going to see that it's really dark. And there's even some parallax scrolling going on in the background. That's pretty sweet that they didn't just stick with the stagnant scenes from the very first game. But this isn't without its problems. You see, if you keep turning and turning, well then some of the weapons that could be on the ground will eventually come in view again. The more you go left, it'll eventually show up on your right. But the enemies themselves just don't do that. So you have to keep scrolling back and forth to actually kill the zombies on the edges of the screen before they get there and take a bite out of you and hurt you, which is really cheap. I hate it when enemies just off screen attack you and hurt you. But also with this weird lighting choice, we can see that the zombies are actually fully dark in the background, and they become more visible as they shuffle towards you, which means this game has real-time lighting effects, or some reasonable facsimile thereof. Also, you just don't have a shotgun here, you have a flamethrower, so combusting enemies into tiny bits is more fun than ever and really easy to do. However, the flamethrower doesn't adjust up and down, at least in my early version of this game, but maybe later versions they'll have that different. But I really hope they don't, because that means you have to switch between the shotgun once in a while to take out different moving enemies, like the bats that can spawn anywhere. It's good for killing your regular zombies, but not for killing everything. So a good weapon balance is always really helpful in these shooter games to keep them feeling very fresh. Also, there's a time limit per level in the form of the TNT fuse. When it gets down to the very end, all you have to do is throw the TNT out there, it explodes, and you move on to the next level. This is really fun and a very fresh idea. Level 2 seems to be the most endless hallway that ever hallwayed, and one of the things I also noticed here was that your health completely refills at the start of every stage. So don't worry if you barely scrape by on this stage before, you'll be okay moving into the next area. Now this hallway is super creepy, and I would hate to be one of the people that stayed in this hotel or whatever it is, because there's just a rampaging shotgun guy right outside mowing down zombies and flaming demon heads right out of Doom. Eventually you come to some bugs that just jump on your face and suck your health dry. Now you might be able to switch to your grenade and throw it in time, but it won't have any effect against these spiders. And also your health will be drained so fast you might not even have time to do so. So that's one of my big problems about the grenades. You only have a small handful of them, and by the time you think about using them, chances are you're gonna be dead. They might as well made it as a just press the button and destroy everything on the screen. That would have been a little bit better than the design choice that they went with. There's also quite a variety of demons in this stage, which I really like, and it is definitely fun. However, this is also where I noticed that the game is hard. So you really have to play the crap out of the game and really get in the zone in order to start clearing levels. Now there are a total of 7 levels to this game, and each of them last around 4 minutes with a huge end boss, which I am not going to spoil for you here at all, because I want you to really experience the game. And I'm also going to give you a little bit of a pro tip. Normally in the game, as you shoot the zombies, you can't reload until until all of the bullets are completely cleared out of your shotgun. This leaves you a little bit vulnerable for a second, but if you switch back and forth from the flamethrower, it completely reloads your shotgun. But that means you have to be really good with your thumbs and the Atari Jaguar controller in order to press the number 1 and number 2 buttons really quickly to switch back and forth and reload your gun even faster than just pressing the C button by itself. It's just a little pro tip that will help you to move through the levels of this game flawlessly and take on that main bat demon. So in the end, how is JagZombies 2? Well, it's definitely a lot better than the first one because it also includes the first one. The sound test is cool, the target practice gets you a good feel of how the controller works, and JagZombies 2 with its parallax scrolling and the difference in the zombies, and it seems to be free of all of the glitches that was in the original version of the original game. I gotta say, this is a must-have for your Atari Jaguar homebrew collection. It's definitely one of the better modern games that you could pick up for the Atari Jaguar, and where else are you gonna get a light gun game for a system that didn't even have a light gun? This is a total package that is definitely worth buying today, and I strongly recommend it. But of course, that's just my opinion. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this review. I had a great time making it, and I have noticed in the comments that some people really don't like Wave 1 games because some of their games that they previously released had a lot of glitches in it. Now, I have to tell you guys that even though there was 1 or 2 hiccups that I had while playing this game, for the most part, this was glitch-free. This seems to be a complete package, and they seem to have learned from their mistakes, which is great because that means we're going to see some great games coming from them in the future. So hopefully all of that just rises to the top and we start seeing some full-fledged awesome Atari Jaguar games. At least that's my hope. So until later, I will see you again, guys.